Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Latino Pittsburgh Digital Speaker Series. I'm Melanie Marie Boyer, the Executive Director of the Pittsburgh Metropolitan Area Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Today, I'm really excited to welcome Jodi Potter, PhD, who's the Assistant Dean of Graduate Programs and an Associate Professor of Management at Robert Morris University School of Business. Also, Michelle Patrick will be joining us. She's currently the Dean and Professor of Marketing of the Business School at Robert Morris University. I'm so excited to welcome them today. We are going to be discussing, popped right in. Hi, guys.
Hi. Hello.
We are actually going to be discussing, everybody, how a PhD or a master's can enrich your life. Sorry, guys, it's been one of those days. It feels more like a Monday than a Tuesday, but you guys look wonderful, and we are so excited to have you today.
It is wonderful to be here.
Well, so I'd like to start, if you guys would like to, just tell us a little bit about yourselves and your background. And in the meantime, I'm going to share the links if you guys want to connect with Michelle and Jodi in the comments. Michelle, would you like to go first?
Sure. So as Melanie said, my name is Michelle Patrick, and I am the Dean at Robert Morris University. I am coming up to my 5th year here at RMU in August, so very, very excited to be here. I grew up in Ohio, in Youngstown, Ohio, and I received my PhD in marketing from Kent State University. I worked a lot at some marketing research firms before I kind of went into academia. And I've been in academia for a long while, I guess. But before RMU, I was the dean at Westchester University on the other side of the state of Pennsylvania. But I'm glad to be home and glad to be back in the area.
Oh, well, we are happy to have you. Everything that I've heard is just so amazing. So I know especially the Pittsburgh region is glad to have you here. Jodi, what about you? Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Sure, absolutely. So I am actually not originally from Pittsburgh or Western Pennsylvania either. I am from Western Canada. So if you hear a sorry or an out in my voice, you'll pick up that Canadian accent. However, I have been around for about the last 20 years. I've been here for a while. Like Michelle, I worked in private industry before moving into academia, and I've been with Robert Morris for quite a few years, more than Michelle. But we're very happy to be here today, and we're very excited to talk to you about an MBA program and why it benefits you.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, so first of all, I want to ask you guys, you both went from different industries back into academia. Tell me a little bit about that decision and the process.
Jodi, you want to go first?
Sure. Well, for me, my story might be a little bit unique. I worked in corporate. I was a director of strategy for a large telecommunications company in Western Canada. My husband got transferred to the Pittsburgh area. And since we were moving into a new country and they would sponsor him with a work visa, the only thing they could get for me, though, was a student visa. So at that point in time, I made a career change and decided to go back and get my PhD from the University of Pittsburgh. And that was really what allowed me to transition into academia. And I have been there ever since for about the last 15 years. And it's been a great change for me personally.
Oh, that is just awesome. So I'll ask you a little bit more about the education stuff in a minute. But Michelle, what about you?
So I was working in a market research company while I was working on my master's degree. And as I was working there, all of the people who were above me had PhDs. And I didn't even know what it meant or why, but they had all the cool jobs and I had all the horrible jobs. And I was like, okay, well, I want their job. So I'm going to go back and get a PhD. And I went back to get a PhD and realized that I kind of like teaching. So I taught my first class while I was in master's, but then I started teaching more while I was in my PhD program and fell in love with it and never looked back.
Oh, that is awesome. It sounds like you guys fell right in exactly where you needed to be. And I know even when we talked before the first time, you guys were all smiles. It seems like you really love what you do. So let's talk a little bit about, your education journey specifically before you decided to get a master's, because that's what we're here to talk about today. So as a student looking at different programs and, with the cost of programs and what it could get you in the future, aside from what you know now, what was your view and what was the point that made you decide to go for your master's degree?
Sure, I could start, Melanie.
Mm-hmm.
So I have an undergraduate business degree. And I, at the time when I graduated, I thought, that's it. I'm done with post-secondary education. I am not going back for anything else. And of course, that was many, many years ago. However, once I got out into the workforce and I started to, have various positions, I realized that there was a lot of people out there who had master's degrees and specifically MBAs. And for me, I recognized that it was almost like a stepping stone. Having that degree allowed them to step up into higher leadership positions within the organization. And it also provided them with, like a broader sense of knowledge that I didn't seem to be able to obtain simply from my undergraduate business degree. And so after about 7 years of working, so I took a long time to figure it out, I decided to go back for my MBA, which I did. And I actually went back for what's called an executive MBA. So I was really lucky that the corporation I worked for decided to sponsor me because they're kind of a little bit expensive. But at the same time, an executive MBA allows you to work full time and take your MBA, and you kind of do it on weekends and, all these types of things. So it was a great way for me to go back and get it at the time. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I think it provided me with a sound base of knowledge. And it also allowed me to network and meet all kinds of great people who are all, in their careers right around that point where I was. And we had similar experiences to share and similar desires to, advance our own personal careers and maybe, challenge ourselves in new positions. So for me, it was the best thing that I did.
Oh, I love that. And it's so nice, hearing from the student perspective to where you are now and the journey that you went on because of this degree. What about you, Michelle?
So I took a little different path. I was out about maybe a year working in a marketing research firm, and the firm was like, you need to have a master's degree. You actually need a PhD, but start with a master's. And the company or the place that I went was close to where I grew up. So it was a different type of program than Jodi's. It's actually more like the program at RMU. It was a part-time program. People were working full time, and you took classes in the evening. And the place that I worked for gave me a discount. They didn't pay everything, but they did help a little bit in terms of some of the money, some of the cost of it. So it was great. It was an awesome experience for me. Exactly what Jodi said was, the main reasons that I went to. I wanted to get ahead in my career, and I knew that the people who had an MBA had that broader experience. How all the areas of business works together was really important. My education, my business background, and my education was focused in marketing. So it was great to see how all the other areas of business kind of came together.
I love that. And it's, again, just good to hear that, it was a little bit different, but it was still a good fit for you. So now that you guys have told a little bit about your stories, tell us who is your kind of target audience for these degrees? Who can these degrees help?
Well, really, when we're specifically talking about an MBA because that's probably the most common master's degree that people who work in a business environment tend to get. And, it fits a lot of different types of individuals. For instance, when you see people who are in an MBA program, they don't necessarily come from an undergraduate business degree at a university. We get, a lot of people who maybe started out with a fine arts degree, or maybe, you started out with an engineering degree, or you started out with something that wasn't in the area of business. But at some point in time, you find yourself working in a normal or a more traditional type of business environment, and you are seeking that knowledge that Michelle and I talked about. So maybe you didn't get any formal training in your previous years about, business models, how business works. Maybe you're finding yourself a little weaker when it comes to some of the quantitative skills, understanding a balance sheet, an income statement, a cash flow statement. Those are all types of skills that are kind of very valuable for when you're working in a business industry, a business related field. And so those are the types of experiences and knowledge that an MBA provides to students. So really, it doesn't really matter what your undergraduate degree was. And in fact, many people, like I said, come and get an MBA even if they don't have a business background, but it definitely provides that broad base of knowledge that allows you then to have a deeper understanding of the business world.
I think that was the perfect description, and you had a few things that we're going to touch on coming up as well. But for those watching and they're like, what is this word MBA? I know we've said it a few times, but Michelle, why don't you just dive into that? Tell us what it is and why it's needed across all professions. I know Jodi talked on it or spoke on it a little bit, but if you want to expand, that'd be great.
Sure. So an MBA is a Master's of Business Administration. It's an advanced degree. It is a higher degree in business. And what it does is it looks at all the different areas of business: marketing, management, finance, accounting, and how they all work together. So during your MBA, you are looking at all the different areas and you're trying to figure out and learn more about how do you solve these complex problems in business that include all of these different areas. So it's not just a marketing problem or not just an accounting problem, but how do you look at employees and cash flow and all of these other areas, and how do they all come together in terms of a strategy to make sure that your business will succeed?
Oh, that is great. Sorry, I actually was looking at a question. Someone just asked me, I'm having trouble switching back. I'm so sorry. Somebody actually just asked me, what does it cost to get an MBA and can I do it while working? Which are things we were going to get to later, but in case they need to hop off, would you like to address that right now?
So yeah, I'll jump in first. So what we have is a part-time program at RMU, kind of similar to the program that I went through. And so most of the people in our program work full-time and they go to work and they come to the program. So it's set up for people who are working full-time. We expect that is the way. Classes are kind of in an 8-week session. So you take one class at a time. And it's about $1,000 a credit. There are some discounts though as well. And there are 30 credits.
Okay, that is wonderful. So as far as the time commitment, I mean, people are definitely able to work doing this. It's manageable. That was a question that we got. Actually, I got on text, but it was also asked on LinkedIn. So if you guys are asking questions, if you could do me a favor and not text me, but put it in the comments, it makes it a lot easier for switching, as you can see. So if there are any more questions, we can definitely address them at the end. But I thank you guys for, engaging. So we talked a little bit about time commitment, who these degrees target. But I know a lot of people wonder, is this something that I should do fresh out of school? We had kind of already talked a little bit about people who are already professionals and in the midst of their career. What about students who just finished their undergraduate degree?
It works for both, to be honest. I mean, it used to be, and that, tells people how old I am, but it used to be that people would recommend that you went out and you got some experience before you went back and got your MBA. But that's not necessarily how it's working these days. We have a whole group of bright undergraduate students who are getting their masters, their MBAs, their masters in business administration right out after they graduate with their undergraduate degree. Many of them are not choosing to wait. And one of the key differences is a lot of students are getting great quality experience in internship positions as they're getting their undergraduate degrees. And so it sort of gives them a bit of a step ahead into that business world, because really an MBA is kind of a practical degree, and a lot of it is very applications based, which means that you do a lot of problem solving that is related to the real world. And so because of that, you tend to get more out of it if you've got some experience. So it really works best for those that have some experience. And these days, that's happening both as students are getting their undergraduate degree, but it also can fit for somebody who's got a few years of real work experience under their belt.
So let's talk a little bit more about those students specifically. The students who are coming out and they are going into jobs, we mentioned the advantage of what they're going to learn and the different experiences they'll have, but does it apply to salary directly? You know, I know when I was going to college, which was a little bit ago, people would tell me, you know, well, with a degree, you'll make this much more. With this degree, you'll make this much more. Is that something that we're still talking about today in percentages and numbers?
Yeah, no, we really absolutely are. In fact, I had pulled some data over the last couple of days, and just generally speaking, if you get a master's degree in MBA specifically, then the expectation is that on average, you'll be able to generate $20,000 annually more income than you would if you just have an undergraduate degree. So for our degree, which is, like Michelle said, approximately $30,000 to $33,000, the payback period for that is not too bad.
Wow, those numbers are phenomenal. 20,000 more a year. That's a huge number that can really make an impact in someone's life.
Yeah, it can. I mean, you know, when you talk about paying bills and feeding families, that makes a big difference.
Definitely. Well, so in the RMU MBA program specifically, can you talk to me a little bit about what types of classes people will be taking, the things that they'll learn? I know some people, like we said, they don't have a business degree, but ended up in a more traditional business environment. So they have no idea what business classes look like. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, as we both, Michelle and I, have already mentioned, it's a holistic degree. It kind of looks at all various aspects of business. Any good MBA program, though, worth its weight, is going to have a nice leadership section on it, because that's a big part of what the expectation is that when you have an MBA, employers are expecting you to have some sense of how to be a good leader, you know, what the different ways are that you can achieve that, what the strategies are to do that. And so that's one key thing that needs to be in any curriculum. The other thing is really the accounting and the finance knowledge, maybe even the finance knowledge more than the accounting. You find that you really require that. I mean, when you are in a business position and you are moving your way up into senior management, there's an expectation that you can look at an income statement, a balance sheet, a cash flow statement, and have some sense of how that's a reflection on the financial health of the organization. But in addition to that, I mean, there's a lot of MBA programs these days that have a focus on data analytics, because we all know that organizations are collecting massive amounts of data, and they want to understand how to manipulate it and get information from it that's valuable. And so that's another important part of it. Plus, you should have some opportunity to specialize, right? To really kind of dig deeper and develop some knowledge in specific areas. And some of those, again, are business analytics, project management, supply chain, risk management. I mean, these are all the kinds of key areas that MBA programs allow you to sort of expand your knowledge in.
Oh, thank you, Jodi. I like that it's a holistic approach, and people can kind of expand also in the areas that they are, you know, comfortable with and interested in. Michelle, what do you think was the highlight of your MBA experience and that you saw other students going through? Wait a minute. I'm worried now.
She was young.
It was my son at the time.
I was, man, that's been a long time ago, right? You know, I think for me, it really helped me to understand how all the different areas, I've said this several times already, but for me, it was a great holistic view of how everything really worked together. At the time that I went for my MBA, it was a little bit more kind of soon after my undergraduate. And while I had some experiences, I probably didn't have as many as I could have. So it allowed me to kind of see some of those things that I didn't understand until I understood, like, it kind of, the light bulb went on and I said, wow, all right, that's how this and this work together. And that's why you need to do this and look at this and why these things are important. So to me, that was really important. And I got to meet a lot of great friends during my MBA, and I still talk to many of them now.
Oh, I like including the social and the business aspect as well. Of course, it's education, but incorporating those things into business and being able to cross-reference for those who are already working, and for those who aren't working, having the leg up to learn about those experiences before they even get there. And like you said, interact with other people in the program, because if you're a new student coming in, you have all these different professionals from different places with all these other experiences. No matter where you are, there's something you can learn from other people in the program. So, of course, we could talk about the good things all day long, but we have to be honest here. It is not easy. You have to earn it. It is something you have to do the work. You don't just pay and get your degree. So let's talk a little bit about that. What, especially in your experiences and in the students that you work with, what is like a struggle or a difficulty, a hurdle that people have in accomplishing this degree, and how do you and does RMU help them get past that?
Well, I think generally speaking, it's an MBA should be applications based, so it should be very realistic. And I think that's what people enjoy most about it, is that it's very timely. The struggle, the part that some people tend to struggle with, is not all of us have strong quantitative skills, right? Not all of us are great at, the statistical analysis or the financial analysis or that piece of it, the numbers side of things. But really, I think what we allow people to sort of see and experience in our program is it's pretty practical. It's not as complex as people assume it's going to be going in. And when you have the support of the faculty and you have the ability actually to take a class face-to-face, or even take it online if that fits better for you, or you can simply, reach out to faculty and get the support that you need when you require it, I think people will realize that, it's great. You can develop a sense of understanding. You can overcome some sort of boundaries or hurdles that, sometimes you have it in your mind that it's going to be hard, but really it's pretty straightforward kind of stuff. So I think that's the good thing about it all.
Wonderful. What do you think, Michelle? What do you think is the thing that people have to overcome in the program?
So, yeah, I agree. It's, the financial part is hard. I think it's a perception too. I think many people believe this MBA is this kind of higher degree that is this theoretical type of thing with all these models and, all that other stuff out there. But it's really, you asked, well, how is it at RMU? RMU is really an applied. So, day one, everything that you're learning in the MBA, you can start to apply it into what you're doing. And that's kind of cool. So, I would say the perception, in addition to the financial, are things that people just kind of have to figure out. But the perception sometimes is, this is some really hard theoretical degree. I'm never going to be able to use some of this information. But that's not how we do it. Everything we do is applied.
And let's talk a little bit. Well, I know you guys have a presentation ready, but I wanted to talk a little bit about what you think sets RMU and this program specifically that, you guys are a part of. What sets it apart from other schools and the programs that other universities have?
Well, I think one of the things to be aware of is that we have managed to build a 30 credit program. 10 classes, 30 credits. And how we've achieved that is in all of our core courses, we don't just teach functional information functionally in a silo. We team teach, we blend a lot of different concepts into each class. It's all, like we've said, very holistic, a lot of case studies, a lot of projects, very few exams, things like that, a lot of real life learning. And that's kind of how we've been able to get our curriculum to 30 credits. And what that means to a student is that 30 credits or 10 courses can be done and completed in less than 2 years. And I think that's kind of a very valuable thing that we've managed to do. Michelle, you want to add maybe other things?
Sure. I think another thing that sets us apart is within those 30 credits, we allow you to specialize and get a certificate. So we'll talk a little bit more about some of those certificates, but you get the degree, you get this kind of, you're able to use it day one, and you're also able to get this certificate, right? This other credential on top of your MBA that's allowing you to specialize in an area.
Wow, that's amazing. An extra resource for students to use. And I want to add, you guys know how many credits it should normally be, right? So you keep saying it's only 30 credits, whereas other programs are, I believe it's 36 credits, right?
36. Some of the programs in and around the Pittsburgh area can go as high as 48, depending upon how deep of an MBA it is. And really, it's a personal choice. You know, there's a fit out there for everybody. If somebody wants to spend 3 years and they really want to get a deep sense of knowledge in certain areas, then there are other programs for them. But if they want to be able to, in under 2 years, get a nice MBA that provides them with all the basics that are required with the opportunity to specialize in a certain area, I really think our program does that for people. The other thing that Michelle does better, she talks about it better than I do, is that we are AACSB accredited, which I think makes us really stand out from the crowd as well. And I'll let Michelle just talk a little bit about what that accreditation does for our program.
Sure. Yep, we can do that now as well. So Jodi mentioned that we're AACSB accredited. There are some schools around the area that are AACSB and some that are not. And so AACSB is an international accreditation. Only about 5% of the business schools worldwide have this accreditation. And it really kind of focuses on 3 things. It says that your faculty are current and that they stay current. So it's not that your faculty just have this degree, but it's that they're constantly staying current and they know what's happening. So they didn't go get their degree 20 years ago and they're still teaching those same things. They're absolutely staying current. The second big thing is that the curriculum has to always be aligned with industry needs. So we're constantly looking at our curriculum and making sure that we're realigning based on where we are in the world and in business today. And the final thing that this accreditation looks at is when you go to school, no matter where you go, whether it's an undergraduate, a graduate, or whatever else, you get what we call a syllabus, right? And it's this kind of map of what you're going to be taught. So all schools by law have to give you this, right? So state law requires and federal law requires that you must have this syllabus that says, here's what you're going to learn. And you can check it off. So I taught you this, I taught you this. Well, this accreditation goes one step further, and it says not only do you have to prove that you taught it, but you have to prove that your students actually learned it. So we're here and we're under this gun here to kind of say, okay, we've got to make sure you've learned it. And that's something that's a little different, a little higher level. And you know, if I was going to school, I'd want to make sure that my faculty were current, that my curriculum was current, and that they're going this extra mile to make sure that we are, that I'm learning it, not that they're just teaching it to me.
I love the thing about the faculty being current, because that was something that when I went to college, I specifically chose a school that was very important to. And also, I wanted to make sure that the faculty that I did have had significant experience in those fields, and they weren't just people with a ton of education and no experience. So I know that's something that RMU is very vigilant about as well, which I love. I'm not sure, do you guys want to talk a little bit about the certificates, or is that something that's already included? And I know you guys have a few slides. What do you think?
You know what, Melanie, at this point in time, I can talk about the certificates. Quite frankly, I'm not sure we need the slides anymore because you basically touched on everything. You've done such a fantastic job of guiding us. But anyhow, so at RMU, we offer you the opportunity to specialize in 4 different areas. And if you choose to do that, you can get a certificate in addition to your MBA, because we've built the program so that these certificates seamlessly fit into the MBA curriculum. And so what that means is it's kind of what we call credential stacking. And that's what it's all about these days. I mean, people want to be able to go back and get knowledge when they need it, right? And the kind of knowledge that they need. And so that's, I think, where the industry is really headed. And we're trying to, sort of lead the way here at RMU in regards to that. So we have 4 areas that we allow students to specialize in and get that certificate. The first one is business analytics, and I think that's our most popular one. And it comes back to this idea that, everybody's collecting data, everybody wants to understand how to use data, and the skill sets associated with gathering that data and visualizing it and running it in various software programs, and then understanding how to make business decisions with the output is something that cannot be undervalued or underestimated. I mean, all corporations, all industries are looking for people with those skill sets. The second one we offer is project management. And again, that is something that crosses all industries, and we have a lot of students who come back and they're seeking that project management specialization because they found themselves at some point in time in their career as a project manager. And, if that's something that takes some degree of specialized knowledge and skill, so they're looking for that from the certificate option. The third one that we have is supply chain and logistics management. And we all know how important the supply chain is, right? And we've all experienced what can happen when the supply chain breaks or it has a global pandemic occur or something that sort of causes friction or problems along the supply chain and what that means to the end user. And so that whole supply chain process and the logistics part of it is something that we do as well as a concentration. And the last one is our newest one. It's called risk management. And it's really a certificate that's designed around this idea of enterprise risk management. So how does the organization identify risks? How do they assess them? How do they seek to mitigate those risks? What are the strategies that they can do in order to try to accomplish that? You'll never eliminate risk fully in any organization, but the hope is that you can, do something, take actions in order to reduce it. So those are the sort of the 4 areas that seamlessly fit into our MBA that students have the opportunity to take as certificates.
So it seems to me like all of those things could really benefit just about any professional in leadership. Like these are things you can apply anywhere. So can you go for more than one certificate?
Of course.
So I want all of them.
Yes, absolutely. Most students take one, right? They take one in conjunction with their MBA initially. But we've had quite a few students who have already gotten an MBA and a certificate as part of that. And then a couple of years later, they come back. And the way the certificates work is one of those classes in each certificate is part of the core. So you can actually come back and add a certificate on, and it only is 3 more classes, not 4, which is the way the certificates are normally structured. So like I've said, we've had students that have come back seeking knowledge in one of those areas. They may not have been able to get it at the time they did their MBA, but they come back and they add it later on.
That is amazing. So let's, first of all, and that's saving you money, time, especially hearing from 48 credits down to 30. I mean, that's huge financially and as a time commitment, and especially for busy professionals who have families or just other responsibilities in general, that's a huge difference. So I want to just point that out. But is there, I know, with undergrad, people have, all these different grants and things. Do you guys have scholarships? What about like any financial assistance? Can people get loans? Let's talk about that for a little bit.
So yes, you can get some loans through financial aid and those types of things. So there are opportunities for that. A lot of our people who come to RMU, sometimes their company will have a financial incentive for them to come and get a higher degree. So they'll get a little bit of a discount in terms of a reimbursement from that company. We also offer some discounts for companies or if you belong to certain organizations or things like that. So there's almost everybody gets some sort of discount in the program, at least a 10 to 15% discount.
That is great. I know there's a lot of people who think that you cannot get financial aid. Also, I want to add that with the Hispanic Chamber, we do have a scholarship program for Hispanic students, and that does include master's programs as well. And we do give to RMU students. So just to add it in there. It's only available for application from January 1st through May 30th. So it's not open now, but if you're planning on going next year, you guys can always hit us up too.
Can I jump in too? One of the cool things about RMU is that you can start at any time. So some programs you have to start only in the fall and only during one time. As I mentioned before, we have 8-week classes. So literally throughout the year, every 8 weeks is a new starting time for you to start the MBA. You can start now for fall. You can start in the middle of fall and take one class and then continue on. You can start in January. You can kind of start in the middle of the spring semester, or you can start in the summer. So a lot of opportunities. And if there are things in your life where one semester things just are too crazy, then you take that semester off, or you take those 8 weeks off, and then you just take a class the next time. We have people who work in tax, right? Who are during tax season are like, I can't deal with this, right? So it's fine. They take those 8 weeks off or whatever it may be. So it's all very, very flexible. And that's kind of the cool thing.
That is a great idea. I would have never thought of that. And it has no effect, right? So wait, what is the usual course load at a time? And what would you say is like the time commitment on a weekly basis, if I could? I just want to give people an idea of like how this would fit into their life.
So I'll start, and then Jodi, if you want to jump in on the time commitment. Typically our students, if they're working, are going to take one class every 8 weeks. So as I said, you're going to, in a semester, if you think about a fall semester, when you talk in school language, you can take 2 classes, one the first 8 weeks, one the second, but you're taking them one at a time. So that's typical. And about a year and a half, a little bit more, sometimes depending, you can get through the 30 credits. But go ahead, is that?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely. The majority of our students take one class at a time. The average student tells us that they need to spend about 15 hours a week doing what is necessary to be successful in the class. So if you think about that, if people work a 40-hour work week, which actually a lot of people don't, they work a 50-hour work week, and you add on 15 for school, plus you look at, family commitments, personal commitments. I mean, you get to be a pretty busy individual. So that's why the majority of our students who work full-time just do one at a time. And Michelle is absolutely right. They run in this 8-week accelerated format. So that's the only other thing to consider is that, things move along quite quickly in one of these 8-week programs. And you just have to be prepared that from the moment you start until the moment you end, it's going to be busy. But Michelle is very correct that if you start and you take one class each 8 weeks and you don't stop or take a break, then you can be done in 20 months. On average, students take 2 years, which means that most students do take a break at some point in time. whether that be summer or tax season or, the same, whenever they're coaching their kids' fastball team or whatever it is. I mean, we have a lot of people who are, our average student is 5 to 7 years out from their undergraduate degree. So we have a lot of students in the program who have families, young families, and who have a lot of commitments outside of work and school.
But it's still manageable.
Yep.
Right. I think that's the key here is that, we really are so busy, but there are very few people who cannot pull from other places to make that time up. Very few.
No, absolutely.
You guys know who you are.
Yeah. And a lot of students,
just like anything else,
they fit their study in. They fit their study in according, when it's most of our program is online, which means that you can fit your studying in when it's convenient for you. If you've got an hour over lunch, you can do some work. We have a lot of people who don't, start studying in the evening until their kids are in bed. We have some people who will do a chunk of it on the weekends, right? So we recognize that as a group of faculty who teach in the program. We understand that people are busy, and sometimes you have to travel. Maybe you don't have great internet access. Maybe your flight is delayed. Maybe you're a little late getting an assignment in. Those are all things that we know how to deal with.
And two, just like anything else, when something is a priority, you make time for it. You decide what's important. And in this case, making the choice to get further education, you make the choice to study, right? Oh, I love it. Well, we've gone over so many things. What else? Is there anything else you guys think that we should highlight, that we should talk about? What's the application process like? I know you said you could start anytime, so I'm assuming you have rolling applications.
We do.
What is that process like?
So it's all online, very easy. We of course are going to need some of the basic things like your transcript from your undergraduate degree, but you can go on right now and start the application. And it's not hard to do at RMU. Just click the little link and fill out the questions, and then you can always go back and add the things that you need as you need them. We do ask for some reference letters as well, but nothing major. We're not asking for a ton of documentation.
So in that process, how long would you say it takes to fill out the application?
It doesn't take very long at all. I mean, you can fill out the application in probably under 15 minutes, quite frankly, maybe even under 10 to get it all in or to get the application in. And then if you do want to apply, there's a couple of things you need. One is your transcript from your undergraduate institution. So that's actually, in some ways, the most challenging, is to obtain that in a timely fashion. Two, you need 2 professional references. Somebody who you've worked with, who understands your capabilities and is willing to say, yes, absolutely, this person is a good fit for an MBA program. You need a 1-page essay that just talks a little bit about why. Why do I want an MBA? And finally, we have a GMAT. So most Masters of Business Administration programs require a graduate management admissions test, and that is something we require as well. However, there are a number of instances where that can be waived. And so if somebody is interested in exploring those opportunities, I am the person that they should talk to.
So I actually did share Jodi's information, her LinkedIn, in the comments. You can always message her there. Yeah. No, but that's great to know. And I know some people aren't great at test taking. You can be totally brilliant and still not be able to do testing very well. So about that test, you said the GMAT, where can people take that, and how long does it take for results to come in, and what does it cost?
The GMAT, I don't think this is where you're getting out of our area of expertise. I don't think it costs very much, maybe $100, maybe a little more. I'm not absolutely certain. People can search that up, Graduate Management Admission Test, GMAT. You can take
$250.
$250.
It includes sending reports to up to 5 institutions of your choice.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yay, Google.
I became knowledgeable just like that. I just remembered from my other life. No.
But there are many instances where the GMAT can be waived. If you graduate from another AACSB undergraduate business school with more than a 3.0 GPA, it's automatically waived. You don't have to pay the $250 or take the test. Or if you've got work experience that's relatable to a business environment and you've got at least 3 years of that happening, then also we can look at waiving the GMAT potentially for you as well.
Oh, that is awesome. Well, I think that that's one thing that I love about RMU. You know, everyone is like a family, and if there is a solution, someone will find it and walk you through it. Do you want to talk a little bit about the campus versus online and what the program looks like from that aspect?
Michelle, you want to go?
So I can go, sure. So as Jodi said, past couple of years for sure, we've been 100% online. And this fall, we're still 100% online. In the spring, we will certainly start back to, some of those face-to-face classes. And the idea is that the face-to-face are there for those who might not feel comfortable with some of those techie kinds of things. Maybe the financial class or the business analytics class where you're like, ooh, this is just a little bit above where I'm thinking I need to be, and I want to be there, and I want to make sure that I can, talk to a professor face to face and deal with that. But most of our students actually do well online. If you think about this, the flexibility of the online is so much better than the one night a week coming to campus. So many students will continue with the online and maybe just take one class here or there on ground.
Oh, that's great. And it's good that there is that option and that there is a campus nearby. But because it's online, you guys service students all over, right?
We do. But, what we found, though, is still a large number of our students are in, within a probably 50 to 60 mile radius of the campus. And the cool thing about it, as you've said before, Melanie, is, all of the RMU faculty are here, constantly there and available for our students. So this is an opportunity for you to really interact. We offer a couple networking opportunities as well for MBA students throughout the year. So because most people are online, we allow them to kind of come, and we have some great opportunities for them to get to meet each other in person, get to meet the faculty in person, some fun things as well. So we do that throughout the year and allow that opportunity to network face to face.
Oh, I love it. I feel like there are just so many perks. I mean, we don't even have to stop at the $20,000 more a year. We've talked about so many things, from increasing your professional network, learning from other people's experience, being this holistic approach to education, the different certificates, the cost, the ability to, still get financial aid, the simple application process, the location, being great and having staff right there. I just think there are so many benefits to this MBA with RMU. So if you guys would like to learn more, you can visit their website, which I will put in the comments. But while I'm doing that, I would love for you guys to just talk about what you want people to be left with when they're watching this. What final thoughts do you want them to have? We'll start with Michelle.
Oh, so I think we've talked about a lot of different things today, and we've covered it. But really, when it comes down to it, an MBA can help you advance in your career. It can help you understand kind of how businesses run, and most importantly, it can help you financially. So yes, you're paying a little bit for an MBA, but in the end, you're going to end up with an opportunity to be able to earn more because you have that degree.
Oh, I like that, Michelle. Focusing in on the bottom line. I like that. I like that. What about you, Jodi?
I guess I'm just going to be very simple here and say, you know what? If you don't ever start, you'll never finish, right? That's so true. And sometimes you just have to jump in feet first and experience it on your own. And, if there's anybody that's interested at all or has even been thinking about it, it's kind of been out there, something maybe, let's have a conversation. reach out to me. Let's talk. We'll see if it's the right fit for you or not.
And on this subject, I want to leave people with, now is the time. You know, we have had so much change. So many people have realized that they are not happy in the jobs that they have been in, that they have so much more potential, that they deserve to be happy every day at work. You deserve to be happy every day. And what an MBA does is it gives you the experience, the knowledge, the education, the piece of paper, you know, to let you have more options, let you have a leg up. And with an MBA, specifically in business, you know, it applies across the board, no matter what you're doing, especially if you're in leadership. I mean, this degree will apply and will give you a leg up over all of the other people who do not have an advanced degree who are applying. So now is the time. Do not live in your status quo. Step outside of your box, learn something new, get more education, and, you know, enrich your career and enrich your life. So that's what I want people to walk away with. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. We really appreciate you. We appreciate everything that you do for your students, for the community, for your membership, and of course, for your friendship. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you, Melanie. It was fantastic. Thank you.
It was great.
Aww,
everybody.
See you later. So thank you all for tuning in. Again, I'm Melanie Marie Boyer, the Executive Director of the Pittsburgh Metropolitan Area Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. This speaker series, the Latino Pittsburgh Digital Speaker Series, is one of our initiatives, and its goal is to share relevant information, inspire growth, and foster opportunity. Speakers and workshops include community leaders and members, as well as other individuals and programs that have a positive impact on not only the Hispanic community, but the Pittsburgh region at large. If you would like to become a speaker or learn more, please visit www.pmahcc.org. Thank you and have a great day.